Good morning, Louise. Here's your coffee machine, the Breville Barista Express 870, BES870 in silver. As we spoke, this is my cleanest model. It's about 95% new, I would say. About 9 months old. Very little use on this one actually. It's been sitting for a while now in storage. The owner sold it to me a couple months ago. And yeah, I personally knew the person, the previous owner. Um, they were actually asking me for advice on how to make good coffee, etc., etc. And then when they learned they were moving interstate, they reached out to me and they said, "Oh, do you want to take it?" Because they can't take it interstate, obviously. So here it is. That same person will be buying the same machine when they move interstate, so that's good to know. The machine is warmed up now. Usually it takes about a minute to turn on and warm up. Just be sure to keep your water level up over the minimum. It's nice that the water tank is transparent. You can take a look at any time. You can fill it by opening the lid, or you can just remove the water tank altogether. So condition-wise, there are very light scratches here. Nothing too bad, honestly, and that's about it. I think everything else is immaculate. I'll be giving it one more wipe down before the sale, so just so that you receive it nice and shiny. And yeah, so now it's up to temperature. You see the button light up. It's ready to make a coffee. So at the moment it's in standby mode. I like to begin my sessions with a blank shot. So that's pressing the button here, but without any coffee, just to run hot water through the system, warming up the handle, and also warming up my cup here. You can do this once or twice. It really is up to you. Okay. I'm just preparing my milk because I'll be making a latte. Here's what the machine gave me. You can do this once or twice. I guess twice would be better, just to keep things nice and hot. It's important that you start with a hot handle and a hot cup. I mean, you can still drink the coffee if you don't do these steps, but your coffee will taste better and will look better if you warm up the machine and the cups beforehand. You can store your cups here after you turn on the machine, because this gets a little bit warm, so that's good. Cool. I'll put this on the side while I prepare my coffee. This is the milk jug that it comes with, by the way. And obviously the handle, the tamper, the double basket, and actually all 4 baskets, which is good. They're all hidden here behind the drip tray. So, cleaning tools, etc., etc. Okay, when you grind your coffee, you want to start with a dry portafilter. So I'll take this out, spill all the water off, and I want to wipe this with a tissue or a dry towel. Because if this is wet, it's not gonna grind the coffee properly. It'll be a little bit soggy, so it's good to start dry. I'm using a scale here for consistency, but I've already programmed your machine to the settings that give you good coffee. So grind size at the moment, this dial here gives you the grind size, and that's how coarse or how fine the coffee is. At the moment it's at number 4. You would change this if your coffee is running too quick or too slow. With the beans that I'm using, which are actually the Aldi beans, the Aldi brand, it's quite good for the price. At the moment it's at grind size number 4. Grind amount is about 12 o'clock. So this is how much coffee it will give you, and this is how big the particles are. If the coffee is too runny, I would make this a little bit finer by 1 or 2 numbers. If it's too slow, I would make it coarser by 1 or 2 numbers. So let's see. And here you can click the filter size to grind a single amount or a double amount. This is a double basket. It's the single wall double basket. It's the one you want to use if you have good beans. But the other baskets that come with it are the dual wall baskets, and those ones are kind of easier to use, but they will taste a little bit less good, I guess. They'll taste a little bit worse than the single wall. This is the basket that they use in the cafes actually, so similar design. So I'm going to click it once. I like to do it in 2 steps. Very good. Let's just check how much that was. It should be 9. It's a little bit more than 9, so I'll take a little bit off. Okay, let's put this at 11 o'clock and see how we go. Yeah, that's about right. I'm happy with that. I'll keep it there. So that's 18 grams of coffee in the handle. I'm gonna take the tamper out and then press nice and firm. Make sure you put even pressure. And if you don't have a scale, a good way to know that you have the correct coffee, the correct amount of coffee, is if you tamp it, the tamper goes as deep as the silver cap. So in this case, it is going exactly as deep as the silver cap. I mean, it doesn't have to be to the millimeter, but it's close enough. That's about 18 grams. I want to clean the edges and then screw it in. You want to go as far as you can, but don't force it too much. Don't, if you feel like it's really tough and really hard to screw in, that's probably because you have too much coffee. But usually it should go about 5 o'clock position to the right here. You want to screw it in all the way, because if you don't screw it all the way, it might come off, obviously. So that's there. I'm gonna put this in the sink. Now the cup is nice and hot. Oh, I almost forgot. There's a hot water tap function here. This will give you hot water for Americanos, long black coffees, tea if you want it, or just to warm up your mugs. So I'm going to use a little bit to I'm going to use a little bit because I like adding sugar to my coffee, and I feel like hot water helps the sugar dissolve with the espresso. That's good. Alright, so 18 grams of coffee in the handle to the correct grind size. I'm using fresh-ish coffee. The fresher the coffee, the better, the more consistent your results will be, and the better tasting your coffee will be. I'm also going to use the scale again to measure how much coffee the machine gives me. So a good rule of thumb is that if you put in 18 grams of ground coffee in, you want to get double that output, so 36. So 36 to 40 is the range I usually aim for. It doesn't have to be exact, like some coffees brew and taste better at different lengths, but a 1-to-2 length, a 1-to-2 ratio is usually the standard. So I'm going to use the scale again to measure. These buttons are programmable and you can make them as long or as short as you want. So it could be as little as 20 grams of coffee, and it could be as much as 200 grams of coffee. It's really up to you. I've programmed it to about 40, which is the length that usually this coffee tastes best at. So 40 grams, let's see how we go. You want to pay attention to a couple of things. The pressure gauge, it should be around between 11 to 1, and the flow should be nice and slow. You want to time it maybe. Usually if you time it, you can have an indication of how quick or how slow it is. rather than going by the looks of it. Okay, so that was about 18 seconds. So not too bad. You could make this slower by going one step finer, or by using freshly roasted coffee. But at the moment, it looks good, and as you saw, the flow is nice and smooth, and I'm quite happy with it. Okay, it's time to do the milk now. So with the steamer, it's you need to learn the technique. It's not very difficult. And I guess it will take you a couple days to learn. Let me show you how I do the milk. So just pouring milk into my milk jug. Okay, you want to pour milk, if you see the spout here, just on the spout or just below the spout. That's the amount of milk that's standard for a latte. You want to turn on the steamer, give it a few seconds. It'll take about 10 to 15 seconds to warm up and reach the steam temperature. And once you start hearing the pulsating noise of the pump, that's when you're ready to steam. And the technique you want to use is you want to put the wand at an angle and try to spin the milk in a circle, like a vortex, and keep the wand close to the surface of the milk. Meaning, this tip, I want it to stay close to the surface so that I inject air as I spin it. So after you hear the pump pulsating, that's about full pressure. Very good. I'm going to turn it off. Turn it back on. You want to be hearing this noise, that hissing noise. That means I'm injecting air into the milk and giving it that creamy texture. If I do this for very long, I'm probably going to get a cappuccino texture. But if I do it for a little bit less, it's going to be close to a latte. So it's really dependent on the length of the time and the distance to the surface. So I'm going to raise the jug now, meaning I'm no longer injecting air. I'm just heating the milk, spinning it in a vortex. And then I'm going to stop the steamer when I can't touch it for too long. So when I can't touch the jug for more than half a second or so, which is about there, I'll turn it off. And that's about 60 degrees Celsius. Now, two important things. You want to purge the wand, meaning turn it on just to get steam to clean the milk from the wand, so that you keep the insides nice and free, unclogged. And then you also want to grab a wet towel and wipe it straight away. The machine will cool down now. It will go back to coffee mode. You'll see the buttons light up. Now it's ready to make another shot of espresso. Nice and quick. So the way it cools down is it purges cold water from the tank over the boiler into the drip tray. So your drip tray will get some water obviously from this process. And that's why you have to keep your drip tray nice and empty every couple of days. Usually it fills up if under standard usage. So keep it nice and clean, the wand I mean. Keep it nice and clean, and remember to purge it and wipe it straight away, because if you don't do this step it might get clogged and it'll be really hard to clean later on. Okay, that's my milk. I'm going to tap it down just to break any big bubbles. Then I'm going to swirl it around to kind of mix it up, make it more consistent. Very nice. Okay. You can actually start with the milk before doing the espresso. I believe that will be a little bit quicker. But I'm just personally used to doing my milk later, doing my espresso first and my milk later. So, here it is. with enough practice, you can actually achieve latte art on this machine. I haven't been able to perfect it just because I like the taste more than the looks. But yeah, it achieves very, very good coffees, this machine. And I'm sure you'll be making cafes that are as good or better than your local cafe in the coming days. So I'm sure you'll love it. That's the Barista Express. If you have any questions or issues, feel free to message me. And I'm looking forward to meeting you. Cheers.